What are some moves that teachers can make to protect their mental health? Welcome back to another episode of the Teachers on Fire podcast, airing live on YouTube every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific and 11 a.m. Eastern. My name is Tim Cavey, and my mission here is to warm your heart, spark your thinking, and ignite your professional practice. Today's Teacher on Fire is Rae Hughart. Rae is the CEO and founder of Teachers Deserve It. She's also a TEDx speaker and author of 2 books, Teachers Deserve It and Teach Better. Growing up with IEP support after being diagnosed with specific learning disabilities in reading, writing, and math, Rae has made it her mission to collaborate with educators and districts nationwide to design mastery learning classrooms that reach all learners. Through Teachers Deserve It, she leads a movement dedicated to empowering educators with sustainable, standards-based grading practices that promote clarity, equity, and student access. You can connect with Rae on LinkedIn, on Instagram at Rae Hughart, on TikTok at Rae Hughart EDU, on Substack at raehughart.substack.com, and finally at her website, teachersdeserveit.com. Rae, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Are you, my friend, ready to light it up?
I am so ready.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. Happy Thanksgiving to all of my American friends and listeners. It's so good to have you on this week, and we give thanks for all the many ways we've been blessed. We're in a great profession, and we're happy to have the opportunity to work with other great people every day. We're going to talk today about a post that you released, that you published on Substack a few weeks ago. I'm going to put it up on the screen here to get started. And you've got this great title. It made me laugh, Rae, and I thought, okay, I've got to chat with Rae about this one. Teachers who said, "Not today, Satan," this week. Small acts of rebellion, petty victories, and the mundane magic of leaving on time. So, Rae, we're going to go through some actual accounts from teachers who reached out to you on different Teachers Deserve It platforms and venues to say, hey, here's one way that I've drawn the line. I've said, "Not today, Satan," and I've preserved my sanity. So we're going to jump right into it, Rae, with this first guy. Marcus, the contract hours hero. I'm curious, in Marcus's story, he left the building right away at 3:15 as soon as he could. Why is that so powerful, and why leave the building quickly?
You know, Tim, I love that we're able to discuss this because so much of what we look at as far as setting boundaries are statements that we can't actually make true. So everything in the Substack post that we're highlighting today and in the post that we will continue to share out, not only voices of our community, but also just tips and tricks and actionable resources, is focused on how to actually make any sort of boundary an actionable move. And having having the flexibility to leave when contracts hours are up is something we all need to strive to do, but it's hard to make happen. So I love that Marcus was able to celebrate here that he really was able to leave at the sound of the bell. Obviously, we want to stay within contract hours and make sure we're doing our job in full, but taking the time to also take care of ourselves is about what teachers deserve. And it's not just that teachers deserve to make a strong impact on students. Teachers deserve the resources to do their job well, but teachers also deserve some of the goofy stuff we talk about, like to wear jeans. Teachers deserve good colleagues. And also teachers deserve the goofy stuff that means making it to the friends happy hour that you really wanted to go to and making it, home so you can have dinner with your family.
So, Rae, on this, I'm curious, where did you fall as a teacher? Were you a get all the work done, stay in the building until it was all done, or get out of the building pretty quickly or as quickly as you could in order to sort of work on your own terms?
I will say, I think this has a lot to do with the type of person you are, right? Like, when do you work best? And Tim, I worked best when I was doing 6th grade middle school math as the primary role I had for over a decade. I worked best in the morning. So I'm like a get up at 4, get dressed, feed the dogs, get out the door. And probably be at school earlier than I'm willing to admit on camera, but I could be there. I could sip my coffee. I was the first one in the building. It was still beautifully dusk outside. And then you're able to get a lot done. You can go through the email list, you can do the to-do list that has the copies. And that's when I like to work, which did then allow me to leave really pretty quick at the end of the day. But to be fair, I put in a number of hours in the morning, which I know some of us with family commitments can't do. So finding that balance of how you work best and utilizing the time you have during the day, which for most educators is minuscule, is essential for this.
I'm with you. You're talking my language, Rae. Okay, let's talk about teacher number 2. Second person who said, "Not today, Satan," Jessica, the sick day revolutionary. And she had the thought, hey, the school needs me, my students need me, but no, I'm going to call in sick. I'm going to make that call and take that sick day. So talk to that teacher out there, Rae, who wants to take, well, let's say should take a sick day, is not feeling well, but just feels like, who's going to take care of my students?
Yeah, it's funny for this one, Tim. I love that these educators are celebrating the tough choices they have to make. But
Right.
can we also note, and I should have noted this even with Marcus, these tough choices isn't with the result of then doing the job poorly, right? We need to put these boundaries in place, but we need to also put these boundaries in place beyond just saying, well, I'm going to leave even if the job isn't done. These boundaries need to be in place, meaning we have the tools set up to be able to do our boundaries. And so for Marcus, for example, and then we'll get to Jessica, for Marcus, I actually remember his message. He has a lot of setups in place that allow him to put the work down and leave. And an example of that would be having an automated email response that Marcus most likely has on his email, meaning that when someone emails him, he is quickly able to determine with our templates, and everyone can go grab this, but he's quickly able to determine, is this really needing my time? Meaning I should stay late to reply to this, or can I do this within the next 24, 48 hours and really nothing's going to change? And the automated email really helps with that because you set it up once, you never touch it again unless you want to, right? I know some people that change it, kind of seasonally. And it not only acknowledges the person who sent you the email right away, it's saying, hey, I got your message, but you're doing two different things. One is you're saying, here's the timeline when I'll get back to you, which is just really common courtesy. It eases the stress of the person that was reaching out, and it eases the stress of you feeling like you really have to get back to them. They're really expecting your reply. And in addition, our automated sequence also has links that allow them to also problem solve until you reply. So for instance, Tim, you know this, we get parent emails that have questions about missing assignments or class schedules or a question about the student's XYZ. In your automated response, you can actually reply with, if this is a problem you're having, here's a direct link to a solution that maybe it fixes 90% of the people reaching out. It doesn't mean you won't reply, but it gives them a way to problem solve in the meantime. Same with Jessica here. I love that she took a sick day. This is so hard to do. And as a teacher, I know taking a sick day isn't about not wanting to stay home in your PJs and snuggle with the dogs or loved ones in your cozy bed. The issue with a sick day is having to admit that you feel like you're going to not do your job well that day and have to write subplans. And for those of us who, are in the teaching space and teach multiple subjects, multiple grade levels, multiple content areas, subplans take so much time. And so the best thing that I can offer you is go over to Teachers Deserve It, either on our Learning Hub or in our Substack. You can grab it right now. We have sick day emergency plans. They work for any grade level. You only have to prep about 5 minutes. And what you can do is just take these out, whichever one you choose. I think there's 10 options. You choose it, and then you know that, first of all, you don't have to spend 3 hours while you're throwing up or have the flu writing subplans. And you know that the students at least aren't going to not get something out of the experience. You can take these emergency sub plans that we've already templated out for you, and you kind of just like pop in something relevant for your class. And I could show these to you, Tim. We could go over it as much as you want, but I love that it works for a first grade teacher. It works for a 10th grade English teacher. And then the only things you're writing about in the subplan experience are what the teachers should be focusing their energy on, like behavior concerns, specific student needs that are really specific to that child. It's not, it's not the other stuff like the how to do a lesson. We took care of that for you.
So great. I saw that come out on your Substack, and I think that is really a wonderful idea. So once again, teacher, if you're listening, if that's the friction point for you, Rae's got some great universal substitute emergency plans that you can scoop up for free. Thank you, Rae, for sharing those. And yeah, I think you're right.
I do want to also note, Tim, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but everything within Teachers Deserve It is not created by me. And I want to make sure the world hears that.
Okay.
If you see my face, if you see a resource, I probably had a hand in it, but Teachers Deserve It is all about curating experts together to find solutions. So, for example, the emergency lesson plans was tons of different educators coming together from all across the US sharing their ideas. Anything on Substack, you'll be able to see. Sometimes it's from me specifically if it's my personal story, but it's like our learning hub. We have different things in there. I might be sharing the information, but the research was done by different educators all over the US and Canada sharing their experiences and their best practices along with the research. So shout out to everybody who's a part of that project. I wish I was smart enough to do it on my own. I'm not.
Well, I love the sound of that crowdsourced solution. And yeah, so once again, if you've got those emergency plans in your back pocket, then it's going to allow you to make that decision when you really should. And that's the key. We don't want sick teachers coming into our buildings. That's not really serving students well or anyone around you. Over to the anonymous meeting decliner. So the story here, clearly someone, Rae, who didn't want to give their name, or maybe their username was a little confusing, but someone who said, hey, I got this invitation to join this voluntary committee, and I actually worked up the courage to say no. Talk about this one.
It's so hard for anyone to say no. I have to assume that it's not just educators, but we fall into the bucket where we like really feel it. No one goes into education for the paycheck. You've heard that 100 times. So many of us are in this field because we really do have a heart for it. We have a service mindset. And so at least for me, I can tell you, I always wanted to say yes, not because I wanted to do it, but because I wanted to make the person who was asking proud, but also I wanted to help. And I felt like I always really could. And if I gave up something in my personal life, maybe I could serve on just one more committee at school. And what I appreciate here about this educator that was able to share saying no, it's not just about saying no as a boundary. Like, I'm not going to serve on a single committee today, right? I'm not going to serve on a single committee this year. But how can we get up the courage and the balance to only say yes when it's the best decision, not only for ourselves, but for others? And unfortunately, serving on 27 different taxing committees is really not servicing anybody like it should. So, a meeting is so challenging. A committee is so challenging to say no to. My suggestion would be to lay out, I know this is a silly activity because I have people do this even when they post on social media, but lay out a little bit of like, when someone thinks of you, right? When someone says Rae Hughart, like, what do you want them to think? What do you want to come to mind? And I'm not kidding. It's really an activity that we help people with when they're like planning, oh, I want to go on social media and share. But it's really good to do as a core value in general. And it helps you in situations like this. When someone says teachers on fire, Tim's the host, what do you want them to think of you? What do you want them to feel about you? For me, I know that it can change, but I like to focus on like 3 to 5 core pillars for people. So, I mean, even if you're listening now, if you're live with us, or, if you're listening to the recording, we'd love to see your comments. what comes up. And for me, I want people to think that I'm approachable. That means I'm warm. I want them to think I'm giving. I want people to believe that I'm invested in them. That's really something I want for myself and when people think of me. I also want people to probably think of like my goofy dogs. I think they're really cute and kind of fun, and they add some humor in my life. I want people to think that I'm a connector. I want them to think that I value not being the smartest person in the room. I always want to meet new people and learn from them. So kind of as you create these core values, that's what I like to then challenge people, any educator, to measure their yeses off of. If it's a PBIS committee, for example, so many of us have those, and it's about behavior management. Maybe it's a once a month meeting. How does this align to my core values? Is there anything that would allow me to do this committee and really lean into the core things that I want to give out to the world? Or is there another committee where I can get even a better effect, a more intentional and maybe more impactful effect? And that kind of helps with some of these things. And that also helps when you're saying no, because you can articulate, I love PBIS. I love focusing on student behavior management. I think that's so great. I love problem solving. However, this other committee, I think I can give more to, and here's why. So I'm going to have to pass on this one. But if you have any other opportunities that are more similar to this, I really would consider it depending on my workload. Kind of gives that soft no.
So good. So much insight there, Rae. I love what you said about the values and personal mission and the personal brand and what I want to be about. And when I reflect back, I think the committees that have really been the most painful in my career have been the ones that were sort of out of alignment with what I want to be all about. So thank you for that. I think that's really, really helpful. Well, we've talked about a few heroes so far. We've got two more. We've got Taylor, the lunch defender, and I had to laugh at this one. I was like, yes, whoever you are out there. So a bit of perspective when it comes to lunch. There is some good, I'll call it good pressure in some ways for teachers to come together in the faculty room, in the staff room, and enjoy lunch with your colleagues and build those relationships. But for some, that's not the right move. So we have Taylor, the lunch defender. She holed up in her car, locked the doors in the parking lot. And even when a colleague came over, Rae, she just pointed at her sandwich and said, "No, I'm eating." So reassure that teacher who, they want to connect with their colleagues, but man, they've got those needs as well to isolate and lock down. Just give them that reassurance that it's okay to find your own space.
Absolutely, Tim. I will say I never went into my car to eat lunch,
Yeah,
but I absolutely have closed my classroom door, locked the door, made it look like no one was in there, and hid in the corner to enjoy my lunch. You get so overstimulated as a teacher sometimes, depending on what's going on in the student conferencing and the lessons and the bells. There's just so much going on. So needing to take a moment for yourself is so appropriate. I think another equivalent of this is when I would be with my colleagues and I'd be like, does anyone need coffee? I'm going to go do a Starbucks run. And it just got me out of the building. It got me kind of like away from the school stress that was palpable in the environment. And I think this is so appropriate. I would love for Taylor here, who's our commenter, or anyone who feels like they fall into this category, maybe keep a little post-it in your desk. It would be perfect to like keep in a drawer if you can quickly pull it out. You kind of want to have some plans for when you get to the point that you need a different environment. Like what do those look like? Where can you go? I think sometimes, well, more often than not, educators are required to make really fast decisions. And sometimes it's nice to have some structure to get some peace. So for Taylor, for example, if she's like, okay, I know that when I'm overstimulated, a safe space is to go out to my car. Like that's an option. And maybe that's a reminder somewhere for her. Or, hey, my God, I have such low energy. Like I have nothing else to give and it's only 11 a.m., right? And you have the rest of the day planned. So what are some quick pick-me-ups? Is it, okay, I need to go find a chocolate bar? Or like, I know I have so many snacks in my purse I keep. Or is it, oh, you know what? If I do a lap around the building, I actually really do feel better. Some of those really good action items that you can help yourself with, so you don't have to problem solve when you're already kind of at a height of an emotion, is a great resource to then peek at when you need it. Maybe it's only once a week, maybe it's every day. Who knows?
And you know what you're describing is sort of like executive functioning for professionals, right? We're sort of learning to preempt those difficult situations when we're low on blood sugar and we're tired, cranky, and the rest of it. We've got one more hero, Rae, and that's Sarah, the email boundary queen. In your article, you actually presented her first, but I wanted to end with Sarah here. So a parent emails at 11:47, but thanks to Teachers Deserve It and the resources you gave her, she set an assertive boundary. And the parent graciously accepted that and understood that. So talk about the importance of setting this email boundary. You touched on it a little bit earlier. Is this an autoresponder situation or is it not? Talk about what this can look like for teachers.
I really loved this story, and I think the auto reply does apply here. So if you are just tuning in halfway through, head back. But there's another element here as well. And I'm pretty sure, because I'm like trying to remember Sarah's story and what we actually put into the article. But something really important that I love about discussing email is not just discussing expectations in the moment, but also giving thoughtful reminders to those that are reaching out to us. And if a parent emails me, for example, at 11:47, there's things I need to consider, and there's things that I might want to communicate either about myself or be reflective on what's going on. The first thing is, can we have some sympathy for this parent that they are feeling the need to email, whether I agree with the need or not? How stressful for this parent that at 11:47 p.m., first of all, they're still awake. Second of all, they're thinking of school and, maybe even had an issue with their student. So there's a lot of empathy here that I think sometimes we need to give to our parents, not to offset a boundary, but this is their personal life, and that's a very late time frame. Sarah, this parent needs to go to bed. But the other thing is Sarah probably needing to communicate, which I think she did, or Marcus, I don't remember which one specifically, but kind of communicating, this is my job. So I do this during these hours, but this is your personal life as the parent. School is a personal life activity. So their emailing hours are different. And sometimes I've seen educators communicate that in kind of a tough way, very stern. I think it's just something parents don't think about. I think that's okay. Parents have a lot they're juggling. Just because teachers have it hard doesn't mean parents have it easy, right? Parents have their own challenges, and to be able to create an environment where we set our boundaries, but we also share empathy and reminders is important. So this is one area that I would say, whether it's the beginning, right when you get back after a break or at the beginning of the year, it's okay for a teacher to communicate and say, hey, as a reminder, like these are the steps that I've taken to help support you. And if I'm not working during family time, and you email me, it's not that I don't want to reply. It's just this has to have a place in my world that is more work focused. And it's okay that our hours are different. I will always get back to you. I care about you. Really reinforcing those things. So I think this is a balance of not only setting up a boundary, setting up those automated emails, but also being proactive. And as a teacher, being able to say, hey, parents, things are going to happen. You are going to want to email me over dinner. You are going to want to email me at night. And you can, but this is kind of what's expected if that happens. And mostly I want to emphasize, teachers, you're not replying until you get to work the next day. I don't want you to have anything that is that emergent unless it's, a very, health or safety concern, which, also can have some places, by the way, in your automated reply.
So good. But there's one more piece of this too that I'd like to address. And this is part of the reason why I put it at the end here, Rae, as the fifth teacher who drew the line. And that is, I was curious, how is Sarah even aware that the parent emailed at 11:47? So I really hope Sarah is not one of these crazy people who has notifications turned on for every email. Where do you sit on that? Am I on the right track there?
Oh my God, Tim, you're on the right track, but this is me. Like, this is my thing.
Oh no.
I always kept emails from my phone. And I honestly, the more I reflect, I can't tell you why. I don't think it's a good practice, but I did.
Yeah.
And I
Okay.
still do right now, right? I
Okay.
run a business. I help a number of different educators. For some reason, I have email on my phone with notifications all the time.
Okay.
Here's my little dose of insight for educators listening that are like me, but they want to be like Tim, because that's where I'm at. I want to be Tim
Sure.
Peavy.
Sure.
I think if you have the auto reply and you have in there, like, if this is an emergency, here's steps you should take. You need to put in whatever you want there. For me, it would be like, call the office. This might be a situation where you need to call the police. I don't know. Like, if you're reaching out to me at 11:47, here are some supports that if I'm not available, someone else is there for you. I think that was my issue, Tim. It was like, what if someone reaches out and I'm the only one that knows? I'll feel so terribly. Now, honestly, and I don't recommend this for teachers, but in maybe other elements of their lives, I give everyone my cell phone number, like everyone. And I'm like, if you need me, you call or text me. And I know that doesn't work in some of the scenarios with teaching, but it does work for like a concern with an administrator reaching out to you via email and having it be an emergency. For some reason, as a teacher, emergencies always were in the back of my mind as like, but what if?
Yeah.
And I think the answer is like, if your administrator needs you and it's an emergency, they have your cell phone number, they will call or text you. Or if a colleague or a friend, I just had notifications on my phone last night. The only people that should be coming through my phone at 12 o'clock at night and wake me up is my partner, my parents, and maybe my sister, maybe my grandma. Like, I want to
Yeah.
limit it, but beyond that, it's probably not an emergency.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. And iPhones are really helpful for that too. You can put your phone on do not disturb, and then people on your favorites list can find their way through. But anyway, we all have a different approach. That's so interesting that you've got those notifications. That makes sense, I guess, when I think about Rae Hughart being on top of things. That does check out. That tracks.
Wait.
Oh.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. What is Rae Hughart doing that people need like emergency level access?
Sure.
Nothing. It does not make sense. No, it does not make sense, Tim. I'm changing my ways right after this podcast. I disagree.
Okay. All right. Love it. Well, listener, if you are ready for more conversations like this one, make sure you're subscribed to Teachers on Fire. Rae, as we start to wind things down and land the plane, you've got so many great offerings at Teachers Deserve It. And I know you've got a promo on right now, I believe, on your Learning Hub. So tell us more about what teachers can find when they visit Teachers Deserve It.
Yeah, friends, the Teachers Deserve It movement is built to be a safe space for a community that is solution driven. We're really action focused, and we don't care how you show up and you save your money. We have a lot of different ways to be involved, and even the paid ways to be involved, we have opportunities for you to get reimbursed for that money. So the core elements of the Teachers Deserve It movement you can find over at teachersdeserveit.com. My big thing I would always say is let's connect on social media. I love following educators and I love being able to connect and see what you're doing, whether it be classroom lessons you're posting or family portraits. I love all that stuff. The next element of that would be like, join our blog. It's a really easy thing. If you're not on Substack, that's okay. Do it once and then you never have to touch it again. It will come directly to your email. We, every single post, are sharing voices from our community and solutions to help. We do not believe in talking about a problem that we haven't already problem solved with a minimum of 5 solutions to help, because every person's different and prefer different things. After you join our blog, if you're looking to get even more involved, we have different ways to do that. You could join our Learning Hub. We have free downloads there, free tools in our vault. We also have online courses if you're trying to learn about a topic a little bit more in depth. All of our courses are less than 20 minutes to go through, and they're all action focused. So it's not, for example, we just released an inclusion bundle, right? And it's all these different ways to easily incorporate more inclusive learning environments, but not just that you should, it's not theory, it's actually how to do it. It's the checklist, the templates, and the tools to be able to take it and be able to do it on Monday morning. So please join our community. We would love to have you. And if there's nothing else you do, the biggest request my team has at Teachers Deserve It is to share your pain points with us. We have an entire content development team eagerly waiting to put together problem solving for educators. So if you have a student you're struggling with, or a parent email you don't know how to reply to, or a leader that you're struggling with, please use us as a griping platform. We love it. And we love being able to get back to you with answers that maybe you try and maybe you don't. And we're just here to be a listening ear. So thank you so much for being a part of our movement. And Tim, honestly, Teachers on Fire is legendary in my world. This was one of the first podcasts I ever listened to. I love the work you do. So I'm hoping everybody is already subscribed. If they haven't done so already, please make sure this is on your, listen to list, because I'm honored to be here. Honestly, I love Teachers on Fire.
I'm glowing over here. Thank you so much, Rae, for the kind words. And yeah, I wanted to say about Teachers Deserve It and the content that you put out. It's punchy, it's relevant, it's helpful and practical. There are a lot of well-meaning institutions around teachers and education that are out there that, let's face it, they put out a lot of research-based quality content, but a lot of it is tough to get into as a tired teacher, and you meet teachers right where they are. So thank you so much for everything you're doing. One more time, Rae, let teachers know who are interested in your message today and these 5 noble defenders of teacher sanity. Tell them where they can connect with you.
Yeah, friends, I'd love to connect over on social media. There's lots of places. The only one that, if you search Rae Hughart, you'll find everything. Highly suggest our Substack just because there's so many linked tools for you there. We even have some deals going on for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Giving Tuesday. But if you head over to teachersdeserveit.com, that will just be an easy spot to get access to everything. I would love to connect on social, so feel free to go follow, and hopefully good things to come. We have over 90,000 educators following us on our blog. So I'd love to have you join the movement with the good community we're building.
That is incredible stuff. It's been super exciting to watch you build this organization, this company. I'm not sure, I'm probably not using the right word there, but to build
it. It's the family, Tim. Come on. It's the family.
There we go. It's been so great to watch you build the Teachers Deserve It family in a short amount of time, and you've got so much momentum. So thank you for everything, again, that you are sharing with educators. Rae, I want to thank you for sharing your time with the podcast today on this Thanksgiving Saturday. And you too, educator, I want to thank you for sharing some of your time to tune into this podcast or this video, however you have joined us today. I hope that in some way the content you heard today from Rae Hughart sparked your thinking and ignited your practice. And I'll meet you next week right here on the Teachers on Fire podcast. Take care, everyone. Have a great week. Bye-bye.